Hi, my name is Alicia Rosenberger, and I am an applications engineer supporting position sensing products. In this video, I will be discussing how to compare two simulations using TI's Magnetic Sense Simulator, also known as TIMS. To start off, I will begin my first simulation by creating a new design. For the simulation, the magnet will move linearly and be a bar magnet. Next, the sensor that I will be using will be the TMAG5273. Once selected, create the simulation and verify that what you have selected looks okay. Once created, select your preferred magnet material and magnet grade. Enter in the necessary parameters for your magnet size, followed by the position of the magnet starting position and ending position. For the simulation, I am going to be using a neodymium grade N42 magnet with the following dimensions and magnet motion. For the sensor specifications, I am going to be using the A1 variant with a plus or minus 80 millitesla magnetic range. I will also be using 16x averaging to help reduce noise, as well as the following position for the sensor. Once you have finished configuring your first simulation, press Simulate to see the results of your first simulation. From here, you can save your simulation by pressing Save and naming your simulation. Once you've decided on a name, press OK, and your simulation will be saved. Using the simulation that was just created, you can then save it as a new simulation by giving it a new name and pressing OK. For the second simulation, I will be rotating the magnet 90 degrees with regard to the x-axis and moving the magnet 6 millimeters away from the sensor in the y direction. Once done with making the changes that you want, press Simulate to see the results. To compare the simulations that were just created, press Compare Design. To select the first simulation that was created, press Browse My Designs and select the simulation by pressing Open Design. From here, press Simulate to compare the results of these two simulations. Please note that this feature only works with simulations that have the same function. This means that if one of the selected simulations has linear movement for the magnet, the other simulation must also have linear movement. Otherwise, you will get the following error message shown at the bottom left-hand side of your screen, and the incompatible simulation will fail to open. After pressing Simulate, the 3D animation as well as the plots for both simulations will appear side by side. You can select which graph to use by selecting the drop-down menu next to Graph for Comparison and choosing between the magnetic field versus distance graph or the device output graph. To help you compare the results of the two simulations, you can overlay the results from both the simulations by pressing the Overlay button. Here you can compare results for the magnetic field versus distance or the device output graph in the same plot for Bx, By, Bz, and magnitude. Looking at these plots, we can see that by rotating the magnet about the x-axis has resulted in the magnetic field seen on the x-axis of the first simulation being seen on the y-axis of the second simulation, though the second simulation's magnetic field is much weaker. This weaker magnetic field seen in the second simulation makes sense, as the magnet was moved further away from the sensor, resulting in an overall weaker magnetic field seen by the device. Additionally, you can export the results of the selected graph by pressing Export Graph. Pressing Export Both Graphs will export the results of both simulations to the same Excel sheet. Pressing Export Current Design Graph will export the results of the current simulation that is open. In this case, it would be the second simulation. Finally, pressing Export Comparison Design Graph will export the results of the simulation that was chosen as a comparison, which, in this case, would be the first simulation. Should it be the case that any one of your simulations include more than one sensor, you are able to switch between the results for the different sensors by clicking the drop-down menu next to Sensor Select. In this example, only one sensor was selected for each simulation. However, should your simulations include multiple sensors, they will be listed in this drop-down menu. That concludes our discussion on how to compare two different simulations within TIMS. To learn more about TIMS and TI's magnetic sensors, please refer to the following resources listed here. To get started on comparing simulations for your magnetic simulations, please visit www.ti.com/TIMS.